There's more to this Steve Schmidt. He goes on. So now they're trying to talk about who's really to blame for the breakdown in Congress and with the president. Well, who's really to blame for the dysfunction in Washington?
Jimmy, I just think he's straight-facing it the whole way.
He is. He straight-faces
It's
it the whole way.
amazing.
Here he goes.
But the notion that the divisions in American politics rest solely on one side of the aisle. We have the front-running candidate, ostensibly front-running candidate, Hillary Clinton, in a debate, is asked who's the enemies she's most proud of.
She laughs.
Wasn't a joke at the time, right?
Oh, yes, it was.
It was a joke after the fact.
She laughed when she said it, which is how you know it was a joke.
He talked about
indicator.
Republicans. And over again, Republicans have been raised by this president as a straw man. Their motives have been questioned on issue after issue.
You know why? Because their motives are shitty. That's why. They deny science, for F's sake. Are you kidding me? They spent the first 4 years filibustering everything he did. And again, here's Steve Schmidt. You guys are trying to... I understand that you're a Republican and you have to defend Republicans. But when you can't do it honestly, doesn't it make you just want to change jobs or take a shower or not say anything? Because I couldn't do that. I mean, unless we're at war... We're at a war, and I got to defend my country, and that's not where we're at. We're all on the same side. We're all Americans. We're all trying to make America better. The president, okay? Ostensibly, that's what we're all doing, and he's doing this BS of but we've all seen the way they treated Barack Obama. And by the way, you know me, I'm no fan of Barack Obama, but the way he was treated it's unprecedented just by the numbers of filibusters and how many everything had to get a cloture vote. Everything he passed had to get 60 votes.
The notion that a Republican strategist would accuse the Democrats of using straw men. I mean, Republicans they bought all the straw. They owned all the barns. There was no straw. There was no straw to be had. I mean, George Bush invented the straw man argument. And they still use it all the time. It's just incredibly disingenuous. I mean, for crying out loud, this president alienated almost every liberal Democrat in the country with his willingness to do a grand bargain on Social Security.
A grand bargain.
Right. And John Boehner wouldn't do it because he can't control the Tea Party. Yes. I mean, there's not one, no Americans wanted that deal.
None.
There's been none. It turns out because it was a terrible deal.
Right.
But Obama was willing to do it because he's desperate from the start to make a deal. And then finally, in 2013, he got over it. Or 2014. He was like, I don't want to do anything.
Yeah, I don't want to do a grand bargain.
I don't want to do any deals with you. It turns out you guys hate me no matter what.
He finally figured that out.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this guy saying that Republicans get painted with the same brush of their motives being questioned, that's what you get. That's what you get when you never call out your own.
Yes.
Okay, when you are a party that never says, yeah, that guy's an idiot. That guy makes up stuff. That guy's a liar. When no one stood up and said, Ted Cruz is an insane maniac right. and we need to kick him out of the party. If you don't stand up and do that, guess what? Your whole party gets painted with that guy.
Right. I mean, even the stuff like, Ronald Reagan would be a pariah in today's Republican Party. He was for immigration. He did a deal. He did amnesty. He raised taxes. He would be a pariah. And you're trying to, and Steve Schmidt's trying to make it out like it's Barack Obama's unwillingness to work with the Republican. He demonizes us. Again, he sold out the liberal farm. And they wouldn't take the deal. That's how much they hated him. Okay, you already made that point. I don't have to make it again. Steve Schmidt has a little bit more to say, I think.
When we talk about great presidents who've been able to repair the breach, do you remember Ulysses S. Grant? When Grant dies, 3 of his pallbearers are Confederate generals. Such was his role in reconciling the country after this terrible Civil War.
He also occupied it.
Divisions much greater, but also ended Reconstruction, Chris. But the point is
that why doesn't Barack Obama invade the South, kill them, declare victory, and then appoint a couple of generals?
And the point that Chris Hayes was making was that one of the reasons why Grant gets a pass in the South is because he ended Reconstruction, which the Southerners hated. The Southerners hated Reconstruction. And Grant ended it probably too soon, which pretty much allowed for Jim Crow to happen.
Paving the way for Jim Crow. They hated it because it gave black people land.
And it also
gave, why they hated
and with that comes, power.
Yeah. And also it gave black people police officers who would federal troops who would stop them from being lynched.
Right.
That's basically why Southerners hated Reconstruction.
Oh, okay. So there you go. There's him saying that General Grant was such a unifier. General Grant was a unifier.
General Grant sold out every black person in the South alive at that moment in order to unify.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great example. But he also started it with, you remember Ulysses S. Grant. No one remembers Ulysses S. Grant. He was president.
He's considered one of the worst presidents of all time.
And he actually was very corrupt.
He left office in January of 1877.
You remember that, right?
Yeah. And by the way, all these people who unified everything and all these great guys you want to bring up, 1877 was 23 and 20. 43 years before we thought, you know what, maybe girls should vote.
Maybe women should vote.
Maybe we
That's
should give
right.
girls a chance.
That's right. And it was about 100 years before we let blacks vote.
And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Grant is the president just before one of the worst recessions in this country of all time. Like one of the ones that people compare
of the late 1870s.
Like
with Rutherford B. Hayes. Yeah.
And basically Grant set that up. So
I don't have to tell you, Jimmy, that it goes Grant,
Hayes,
Garfield, who was then assassinated, of course, by Charles Guiteau.
Of course.
And then you get Chester Arthur, and then Grover Cleveland, then Benjamin Harrison, then Grover Cleveland again, and then McKinley also assassinated, and then you're into the 20th century with Teddy Roosevelt. But you know that.
Yeah, Teddy and the bull something party.
And by the way, Robert Lincoln at all of those things.
Is that right?
Bull moose.
Robert Lincoln had a weird connection with
all
of
three
those
assassinations. Wow.
Really?